Well, Tom Rogers, the media and technology executive behind MSNBC and CNBC, appeared on Morning Joe recently with some very honest words about presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden. Take a listen.
The bottom line is the candidate needs to be able to articulate a clear and convincing message. And particularly when it comes to the pandemic, what my piece says is he's not there yet. And it pains me to say this. It really does.
Well, to comment on that, we welcome author and Newsmax contributor Tom Basile. Tom, do you agree with Mr. Rogers' comments?
Well, absolutely. Look, they're seeing something in their polling data. They have to be, because what you're looking at right now is a case of classic projection. They're seeing that these interviews that Biden has done over the last 2 months from his basement that are stammering and at times completely unintelligible are not projecting confidence. And in fact, perhaps quite the opposite, that he just doesn't have it. And that's one of the reasons why I believe that you're starting to see Biden, Obama, and others within the Democratic Party start to use the words incompetence and a disaster to define the president. So again, it's a case of projection. What they feel that perhaps the public may be feeling about their candidate, they want to now project onto the president, and they're all singing from the same sheet of music. So he's getting the tough love that he needs, but it's a sign of some really significant problems within the campaign.
Tom, do you think his nomination is in jeopardy, or do you think they're just going to go with the product they have and, like you said, just take shots at the opponent?
I think they're going to go with the product that they have. That's one of the reasons why you've seen a number of Democrat consultants coming out and kind of dismissing the fact that he's, in the basement ordering Chinese takeout and doing these really terrible virtual events with pigeons squawking in the background and aviator sunglass moves and things like that, which have been panned universally. But I think that they're trying to say, hey, this actually could be a good thing, and they're trying to put a lipstick on a pig here. I think that's going to have to continue unless the Democratic Party is willing to risk looking like it's in complete chaos come the time of the convention.
And Tom, I want to share with you some poll numbers really quickly. A new Rasmussen poll indicates this: 57% of Americans believe that the country is going in the wrong direction, and only 35% believe that the U.S. is going in the right direction. What do you make of these numbers, and how does it relate to what we're talking about in regards to Mr. Biden?
Well, look, with 30 million people, 25 million people unemployed, those numbers are definitely understandable. And I think that's one of the reasons why the president is doing the right thing by trying to responsibly encourage a reopening of the country and putting people back to work, because that's really what's going to shift those numbers. The economic uncertainty is what is driving them. But, the guy who founded MSNBC, who wrote that article, he's so proud in his piece about how Joe Biden can connect with people on gun control and abortion and climate change. And the fact of the matter is that if that's what Joe Biden is really going to be talking about as his platform, that's not what people are voting on in the November election. So again, there still continues to be a disconnect between the the Democratic Party and the mainstream American voter.
Let's take a look at another Rasmussen poll. Matchup between the president and Joe Biden for the general election. 46% for Biden, 42%. Now, we know how wrong polls can be, and we know it comes down to the swing states. But it seems like Biden is in a catch-22, though, in that if he stays in the basement, he looks weak. If he comes out, he tends to have gaffes. So yeah. How do you run against that if you're Trump?
If you're Trump, you work on shoring up what you need to be, shoring up. And frankly, that is those independent swing voters in suburban areas in those swing states, and trying to do a better job of staying on message. I really believe that the president kind of has the opposite problem of Joe Biden. It's very interesting. He's overexposed. He's either overexposed on Twitter or he's overexposed in these sort of long combative press conferences, which haven't helped articulate to the American people just how fantastic a job this administration has done in responding to this coronavirus. So they need to work on their deficiencies in those areas in order to compete with Biden. Because again, I think most people, if push comes to shove, they agree with the president's policies, but they don't necessarily like him, and that's
or
what
his
the barrier
tweeting. Maybe
is.
it's his tweeting.
Or the
a lot of people tell me, I just wish he would not tweet so much.
Right. I have always believed that if the president tweeted about half as much, his numbers would probably be in the 50s or the low 60s.
Right. I have a feeling we'll never find that out.
I know, I'm thinking someone might need to take his phone in the evening. I see a pattern
Somebody
here.
take it. Tom, thank you. See you in a little bit. We're going to have continuing coverage of the coronavirus.